All right, well, I have 202. I know we're going to have more people joining, but let's get rolling here in an effort to respect everybody's time. But I want to welcome everybody to this webinar. It's going to be about the demountable concepts and all the solutions that we offer across various industries and how every company uses them. And if you're listening in, you might be faced with some of the similar challenges that our current customers faced. You might see some opportunity to improve your delivery operation, or you might have other creative ways to leverage the system. But either way, we're going to cover some valuable information as to how it's used in the field and really hone in on how your company can benefit. I will mention that everybody is in listen-only mode for the duration of the webinar. However, if you have questions or anything come up throughout, just take note. I will allow for some time to have questions submitted at the end. Also, there is an area on the GoToWebinar app where you can submit questions directly. If you have a question come up throughout and you want to submit it at that point, you can. I have my colleague on here, Derek. He's waiting to answer any questions throughout. Again, as well, at the end, you can submit them direct to me and I'll be happy to answer them for you. So I want to just quickly go over the agenda, what I'm going to cover. It should run about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the amount of questions we have at the end. I do want to start off by giving you a quick company overview of who we are. Then we'll hop into the actual system itself, the warehouse and wheel system and the swap body systems. Then we'll discuss the components and the equipment options that go along with it, some additional support items that we provide, and then some Q&A at the end. Like I'd mentioned, everybody's in listen only mode, but take note of any questions that come up throughout and feel free to submit them as they come up. So let's go ahead and get started here. Like I said, we'll start off with just an overview of who we are. Demountable Concepts, we are a US-based company. We're actually located in New Jersey, and we've been in business for over 30 years. And over the 30 years, we've worked with hundreds of companies across North America, across different industries, including many of some of the largest fleets in the country as well. And what we do is we manufacture the demountable equipment at our facility, and then we'll work with your truck dealer and your bodybuilder to deliver the best-in-class product of swap body and warehouse and wheels. Now, as far as who we are, I think this, in my opinion, best describes us as a whole. And these are our 6 core values. And it's how we work so well together internally. If it's sales, operations, engineering, fabrication, etc., we all practice these values on a daily basis, and we can all coordinate together to be able to build this product and deliver it to our customers. But the other thing I'll mention is we like to exert these values outward to our customers as well and align our core values with theirs. And it's why we've always been able to provide the best customer service that we do. And we always have the customer's best interest in mind as well. Because, ultimately, while we are providing a product, we want to be a team with you and grow together. And in tandem with these values, we have this process in place, and it's been in place for the 30 years that we've been in business. And what it does is it provides the support to our customers throughout the entire process and the entire interaction. What it means to you is that Demountable is going to be there to help you from the beginning when we're asking you the questions to learn more about your business, because ultimately we want to go back to our team, engineer the best solution, build it, deliver it, and then train your team on it. And even after you're running it and seeing the benefits, we want to be there with you to understand the ROI, support you and your team also through any kind of questions or concerns that arise throughout the life of that equipment. So really you should feel confident, again, that you're not just getting a piece of equipment from us, but you're getting a partner that's going to invest in the furthering success of your operation. So as we transition into what Demountable is and how it works, I want to mention one other important item, and that's sustainability. Obviously, there's a huge focus, around becoming more sustainable and leaving less of a carbon footprint. It's more important now to ensure that your decisions around fleet and distribution involve less of an impact on our environment. And it's important to note that, our system falls into this bucket because it involves less idle time for trucks, a reduction in brick and mortar facilities, lower energy usage due to smaller offices and warehouses, and in some cases, an opportunity to reduce the number of power units in a fleet. So, I mean, overall, it's not just going to have a positive impact on your operation, but the environment around you as well. So I want to talk about, let's get into the systems. The first one that I'll mention is warehouse on wheels. So what is warehouse on wheels? It's a lean, efficient delivery operation. It's meant to grow your market reach while reducing overhead costs like cross-docking, driver windshield time, and warehouse labor. The solution's typically meant for making deliveries in a remote market about 150 to 300 miles away from a main distribution center. And it's similar to a line haul doubles operation, but the final mile delivery vehicle in this case is a straight truck, not a tractor trailer combo. Now, before I move on to the process, I want to note one thing, and it's shown in this picture here, that every truck body, every demountable truck body in this warehouse and wheel system has a front and rear door so that you can load all the demountable bodies when they're on the trailer at once through one bay door. So it's effectively saving dock space while also speeding up the loading process. And don't worry, I'm going to expand on that later. Some of you might be confused, but you'll understand as I clarify and move through the process here. So speaking of which, let me bring you through what a typical warehouse on wheels operation looks like. And I'm going to show you a series of graphics. There's different sections, each one will light up green. And as it does, I'll bring you through each step in detail. So in this example, we have two 26-foot demountable truck bodies mounted on a 53-foot demountable trailer, and they're being loaded at the DC. Now, before I move on here, it's also important to note that in some warehouse on wheel systems, you can also have three 17-foot demountable bodies or four 12-foot demountable bodies on a demountable trailer as well. So there's different configurations, but for this example, we'll stick with the two 26-foot bodies. And again, they all have front and rear doors so that when they're on that trailer up against your DC, they can be loaded through in route order and not touched again until they come off the final mile straight truck at your customer's location. Now, this loading at your DC is usually happening in the early evening hours so that the bodies are fully loaded for the line haul drivers to take later on that night. Now, when it comes to the line haul, usually between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., these loaded trailers are transported to a remote market 150 to 300 miles away, and the tractor trailer driver drops both 26-foot bodies in the remote yard, and then picks up two empty 26-foot bodies from the day prior, and usually they're loaded with like trash, returns, broken product, and these empties are brought back to the main DC for cleaning and prep for the next night's loading and line haul. But now that we have two loaded 26-foot bodies staged in the secure yard, when the straight truck drivers show up in the morning, they each take 5 minutes to back under and mount each body on their respective trucks. They're then able to leave right away and start making deliveries. Now, it's important to note that these straight truck drivers are all stationed and live in that remote market 150 to 300 miles away from your distribution center. This helps the efficiency. This helps them get more deliveries in a day, which I'll kind of touch on and expand on later. But again, this allows them to make their deliveries, complete their routes before heading back to the yard at the end of the day and dropping off the empty bodies for the tractor trailer to pick up later that night. Now, as I'd mentioned in the beginning, this solution addresses many challenges in remote market distribution. The first one I'll touch on are redundant operations like cross-docking and regional warehousing. So typically, you would have a main distribution center. This isn't a traditional, method. You have a main distribution center feeding regional cross-docks where product is line hauled from the distribution center to regional cross-dock, unloaded, cross-docked into a box truck, and then delivered. This is resulting in more warehouse labor to move material from trailer to truck, and also millions of dollars in warehouse lease and operating costs annually. But by using the warehouse on wheels system, you cut out the need to touch product after it's initially loaded which eliminates the need for regional warehouse labor costs. But most importantly, it offers the option to consolidate your inventory and eliminate high-cost regional warehouse cross docks. Now, sticking with the warehouse and inventory challenges, I want to talk about product touches. So in a normal hub and spoke, consisting of loading at the DC, line hauling, unloading at a cross dock, only to be loaded again into a delivery vehicle, you're talking about 4 product touches when you add in that final mile delivery. Now, everybody knows the more product touches you have, the higher risk of product loss or product damage. However, with Warehouse on Wheels, you can eliminate the cross dock and cut your product touches in half. And again, once the product is loaded at the distribution center, it is not touched again until it's coming off the box truck to your customer. Now, I want to talk about some long drives, right? Windshield time, very inefficient. We had customers, instead of cross-docking, sending their straight trucks direct from their distribution center to the final mile market. This has their delivery drivers spending 2 to 3 hours, even more depending on traffic, in a truck before even making their first delivery. But after using Warehouse on Wheels, you cut out the delays and reduce the windshield time to free up more time to make those revenue generating deliveries. It also allows drivers to really focus on the quality of their deliveries by allotting more time and focusing on the customer versus having to actually get to the customer. Now, an added bonus to this was the expansion of the driver pool selection as well. You're now not just looking for drivers in one market around your distribution center, you're now looking for it in your remote markets, because again, your straight truck drivers, your delivery drivers live in your final mile market. We all know how hard it is to find drivers, and now that you can hire them in multiple markets, you have a greater selection to pick from. So companies that use Warehouse on Wheels have seen a greater success in finding and hiring new drivers this way as well. I want to stick with the driver pool here and finding drivers. I know most, if not all of you on this call, have had a hard time at some point finding drivers. And when you drill down to Class A, it becomes even harder. It's almost like finding a needle in a haystack at this point in time. So when you deliver with pups, you do have that swap and go type of operation, but now you're tied into using Class A drivers, not only to line haul, but also to final mile delivery too. It's more effective to expand your driver pool, keep the Class A drivers doing what they do best, and that's your line haul, right? And then use non-CDL or even Class B, depending on the weight of your final mile delivery, but those types of drivers to make the final mile deliveries in your remote markets. This is all possible with Warehouse on Wheels. Again, and I know I mentioned this multiple times already, but the truck bodies, the demountable bodies in this system have front and rear doors, which means you can load multiple bodies out of one bay door versus a pup trailer. You have to load individually, one per door, and you have to, after one's loaded, move one and put an empty one in its place. So you're talking about more labor back at the warehouse, more dock space taken up. And an added bonus that I'll also mention is when you look at buying trailers, you have to pay FET. With a demountable body, you don't. So that's less expense for you to worry about on the back end as well. And the last challenge I'll mention focuses on growth. So as companies test the waters in new markets and grow to the point where they believe a physical location is necessary, they are faced with a lot of overhead to make that happen. But with Warehouse on Wheels, you can simply deploy this solution immediately and immediately begin making deliveries in that remote market without the need for any type of warehousing. All you really need is a small office and a lot to swap the bodies from trailer to truck. And lastly, since this system is so flexible versus a permanent solution like cross docks, you can scale up and scale down the amount of Warehouse on Wheels equipment based off of the fluctuating demand in your remote market. So you can shift equipment from market A to market B, depending on what you're seeing from a demand standpoint. So really, it's no secret as to why many distributors across different industries use this method. So I want to talk about that a little bit and give you some examples. Haverty's Furniture is a really great example. They're a national furniture company, if you're not familiar. They have over 100 showrooms across 16 states. Before Warehouse on Wheels, they had 49 warehouses servicing those showrooms and states. By investing in DEMOUNTABLE, they consolidated 49 warehouses into 5 main distribution hubs that all now service those 100 plus showrooms across 16 states. But here's the staggering number. They now save $18 million annually in logistics costs by doing this. Another good example in different industry is Georgia Crown. Georgia Crown's a beverage and liquor distributor in, obviously, Georgia. And they were operating 5 regional warehouses to service all their markets throughout the entire state of Georgia. Well, again, they invested in DEMOUNTABLE and consolidated those 5 warehouses into one main distribution hub in McDonough, Georgia. And through the savings of doing that consolidation and eliminating all those brick and mortar locations, they were able to take that capital and put it towards state-of-the-art sorting systems within their new warehouse in McDonough. So now they speed up the loading process. They're getting their line haul drivers out quicker at night, and they're turning product that much faster. And the last example for Warehouse on Wheels I'll touch on is Baer's Furniture. This is an expansion play. So they were looking to expand into Western Florida, and they were using pups, but this just wasn't an ideal operation when they really looked at it. They were loading, 1 pup per door and then having to wait for a driver to return with a tractor to move it, to replace it with another empty one to load it, versus now they can load 2 demountable bodies on a trailer through 1 bay door. So now they save dock space and they're saving time because they don't have to move trailers around. The final mile delivery, again, using pups. Their drivers had to maneuver through tight spaces, neighborhoods, cities, etc. But now with the Warehouse on Wheels system, their final mile delivery drivers are non-CDL box truck drivers. And again, kind of expanding on that, non-CDL truck drivers means a bigger driver pool to select from. So they're not tied into an A driver. They can now get non-CDL drivers. And the last thing I'll mention for this is better customer service. They've seen better customer service because their drivers are starting in the delivery market and they're able to make more deliveries just because of the ease of use and the quickness to get to their delivery market now. So they're seeing higher customer satisfaction levels as well. So that ties up Warehouse on Wheels, but I want to take it and I want to talk about Swap Body. So Swap Body, while Warehouse on Wheels handles remote distribution, Swap Body really focuses on local deliveries. And I'll talk about what it is. I'll give you a high level. So really, it's meant to reduce loading expense while driving more quality deliveries to your customer base. And usually it's used for deliveries within about 100 miles on average from your distribution center. And it's best described as a tractor trailer drop and hook, but for straight trucks. The picture, I think, depicts that pretty well for you. So how it's used. In a similar fashion, I'll show you the graphics as well and bring you through step by step. So driver comes in to start their shift, and they usually do it to a preloaded truck. And immediately they start making deliveries. While they're making deliveries, a spare body or maybe 2 are back at the warehouse on legs being loaded. Now, while they're delivering, product comes off the line again and goes right into the demountable body at the warehouse. So this really means that you are loading and delivering at the same time on the same truck, which is really only possible with demountable. So when a driver returns empty at the end of their shift or after they're done making all the deliveries in their truck, they head back to the warehouse and they can drop an empty body and swap onto a full body within 10 minutes. So this quick swap time allows companies to have trucks come and go all day long. And so to sum this process up, it really results in more deliveries being made per day at a lower cost. Now, let me expand on that. The first challenge that I'll mention is overtime and second shift. In fact, I had a conference call with one of our customers today about how much overtime and second shift expense positive impact they're seeing by using this. It was a Pella location up in New York. But a traditional method you're waiting for trucks to return at the end of the day to begin loading tomorrow's deliveries, or you're scrambling to load them in the early morning hours, before your driver leaves. But either way, you're talking about an extra shift, and sometimes your driver's sitting waiting for their truck to be finished getting loaded. The swap body allows for a body to be at the warehouse all day being loaded, eliminating any rushing around to load the truck when it returns. The driver returns empty, again, takes 10 minutes to swap to the loaded body. And when you really look at it, it takes about 2 hours to hand load a 26-foot body. Imagine having to schedule 2 hours of overtime or extra shift or what have you every day per truck. I mean, it adds up. As you can see, over a 6-year truck cycle period, you're spending over $100,000 just in overtime to load your trucks. Where you eliminate that, that's money right off your bottom line there, right from the expense line. Now, I touched on driver downtime. Drivers sometimes are waiting for the trucks to get loaded, or they're even, helping load the trucks, which isn't their job, right? Their job is to get in the truck, go make deliveries so that you can ultimately make money for your company. What Swap Body does is it allows the drivers to arrive at the beginning of their shift to a loaded truck and immediately start making deliveries. It's going to result in more delivery time for them, more deliveries to your customers, and ultimately a better customer service and a better customer offering. And continuing with the driver, I keep mentioning it and beating it into the ground, but a 10-minute swap time, right, from one body to the next. So now drivers can easily drop an empty body midday and pick up a full body to make even more deliveries, or in some cases, you can now start offering same-day deliveries. This is actually really good and comes into play for some of those, hot last-minute orders that your customers come in with, and they, you always get that one person that calls up and asks for that favor, right? Well, this is a way for you to come through on that favor. And again, increasing your customer service levels, but also differentiating yourself from your competition in your markets as well. The last challenge that I'll touch on is fleet utilization. Higher utilization means more dollars being made. Truck sitting is just you giving money away, right? Well, some companies like to do this swap and go operation with box trucks, and how they do it is they'll have double the amount of trucks than they do drivers. So basically, you have, let's say, 2 trucks and 1 driver in your fleet. One truck is with the driver making deliveries while the other truck sits back at your warehouse all day long. But now you're paying to have a truck sit half the time. Where with demountable, you can eliminate that spare power unit, replace it with a demountable body, and now you've taken purchase expense. I mean, this is like the quickest ROI you could see with this system. It's right up front at the time of purchase, you save money. The other thing I'll mention too is you can have different style bodies per chassis, demountable. So you can have one chassis be a van body this morning, and then driver comes back at noon, drops the van body off and hooks up to a flatbed body. So now you have one chassis being 2 different types of trucks. So again, you don't have to have trucks sit because you may need them. Instead, you leverage the swap body system to have one chassis being multiple trucks. Really high level view of this, right? Talk about 2 fixed body trucks, like I said, having 2 trucks per 1 driver. Well, when you compare it to the swap body system, eliminate that spare power unit, replace it with demountable body, you're saving almost 50 grand right up front. It's the quickest ROI you could see from this system. Again, don't take it from me. There's customers using this, right? Pella, I mentioned this earlier. Pella is a big customer of ours. Over 20 years, they've been using our system. They've grown to have over 20 locations, somewhere in the range of like 75 demountable trucks, 150 demountable bodies amongst all those locations. And they've seen real positive impact, 25% reduction in overtime and loading costs with a 40% increase in business by adding more runs and same-day deliveries because of that quick swap time. Another great example is Ashby Lumber. Ashby's a California-based top 100 company that struggled with getting drivers out the door. See, they have an interesting, they're little 20-foot bodies you see there. They hand load from the ground. They don't have a warehouse with bay doors. They hand load from the ground with a forklift or the lift gate on the truck. So it takes them, more time to load their trucks. Well, with swap body, they can have a body sit back in their lot and they load it with a forklift while the truck has the second body making deliveries. So no more driver downtime, no more waiting for trucks to get loaded. Driver comes in, leaves, makes deliveries, and that body gets loaded throughout the day. And the last one I'll mention for swap body is Riverhead. Again, another top 100 company. They were scrambling to get their trucks loaded in the morning and scheduled overtime at night to get some of their trucks loaded as well. And since they've started to scale back those needs because they now use swap body to preload during normal business hours while still making their deliveries at the same time. So these are just a few examples of the literal hundreds of companies using this and seeing the benefits of swap body. But now that we cover both systems, I want you to understand what really goes into it. What does this equipment consist of? So I'm going to touch on the components and some of the options that come along with it, so you have a really good understanding, of the capabilities here. So the first thing I'll cover is everything related to the chassis, and this is the final mile delivery box truck system. We call this our chassis lifter. It's the component that raises and lowers the body on and off the chassis. We have two systems, hydraulic, which you see on the left, that's our legacy system, and we also have an air system. We're going to work with you, again, remember that discovery step in our process I mentioned in the beginning? This is where we work with you and our engineers to figure out which of these is the best solution for your operation, because there's clear benefits to both. But we'll work with you to figure that out. And these systems can be installed at our facility in New Jersey, or we can ship a kit to one of our remote installers throughout the country, depending on the scope of the project. Now, continuing with the chassis, there are options available. You can, surprising maybe to some of you, you can use a liftgate with our system. It's definitely an option, and we will make a recommendation based off of our discussions with you and prior jobs that we've done. However, if you're set on a specific liftgate, we work with all the major liftgate manufacturers in the business. Now, similar to a liftgate, we can do a walk ramp. What you see in the picture is our chassis mounted walk ramp, meaning that, and I didn't mention this with the liftgate, but with both of these components, they stay with the truck chassis. So when you demount the body and the chassis pulls out from underneath, the liftgate and the ramp leave with it. Okay, and then what you see here operates like a normal ramp. It pulls out, hooks onto the body, and you can go up and down as needed. However, we do have a portable ramp option that can be mounted in a bracket on the side of the truck chassis, so that if you are dropping a body at a job site or at a customer's location and you need an easy way to get in and out, you can leave that portable ramp behind with the body to go in and out of the body as needed. Now moving from the chassis to the body portion. What you see on your screen right now is our part of the demountable body. We call this our demountable body base frame. So what we do is we build this at our facility. We send it to your bodybuilder where they put it in their production line. They lay their floor down on it and build the body up exactly to your spec. The only difference now is that it's a demountable body with legs. And these bodies can be built anywhere from 12 to 26 feet in length, 96 inches or 102 inches wide. We do have some options available for the legs that you see here. Now, the leg that you saw on the previous screen was our legacy leg. Those legs have been in use for over 30 years, and they can withstand 24,000 pounds collectively when the body is standing independent of the chassis. Now this leg, the legacy leg, works for most applications, but we understand that not every operation is the same. So we went ahead and designed a new braced leg to accommodate heavier duty applications. Now this leg swings down, and that's what you see on your screen here. This leg swings down rather than pulls out, and it creates less required space on either side of the body to deploy the leg. So it's a great option for tight dock spaces, but I think most importantly, is that, like I said, it's heavier duty and they can withstand 40,000 pounds collectively. And the great part about it is it allows the body to be forklift loaded from your dock without the need for a chassis underneath it. So again, you can have a demountable body on these new braced legs, get forklift loaded from your dock without a truck underneath the body. So our legacy leg never really allowed for that. So this is a really good new option for some other industries and other applications that we've been exploring. I'll give you an idea, and since I can't really bring the equipment to you per se at this moment, put some short clips together for you of the legs and of the truck as well. So we'll start with that heavy duty leg just to give you an idea what that looks like. So again, simply pulls out about a foot, easily just swings down, a brace comes up, attaches to the body, and everything locks into place via locking pins. And there you go. You do that 3 more times, the body's ready to be demounted. Now our legacy leg option, which again works for most people, this pulls out about 4 feet, swings down. You have a brace that connects via a pin. It's just simply pushed in a few inches, as easy as that again. So both very quick and efficient. It just really, again, depends on your operation and application. And the last thing I'll show you is just a quick video clip of a truck pulling out and pulling back under a body. I know it's very brief, but it's the idea is just to show you how quick and efficient. It's very easy. If you have a person that can back up a truck, they can back up underneath a body and mount a demountable body, no problem. Now I touched on this, and this is the last thing I'll talk about with the body, different body styles. Again, you can have a demountable truck be different, have different body styles throughout the day, throughout the week, whatever you need. It's a great way to optimize your fleet count and eliminate unnecessary power units from your fleet. So again, you can have a chassis be a flatbed this morning, a curtain side later, and a van body later. We can refrigerate these bodies as well. So it's extremely flexible depending on your operation, and especially if you're offering different products out of one distribution center. So now that we covered the components, actually, you know what? Oh, I lied. There's one more thing I do want to mention, and it's the trailer. We didn't talk about the trailer. Here's a nice shot. It's our demountable rail trailer, and it's designed to haul multiple demountable bodies. And again, you can do it in combinations of typically 2 26-foot, 3 17-foot, or 4 12-foot demountable bodies. And also important to note that it will be compatible with the existing tractors in your fleet. You do not need a specialized tractor to use this demountable trailer. Now, the last thing I'll mention, since we're wrapping up components here, is the driver training. So way back in the beginning, I mentioned that we train. So we understand this is new equipment and a new operation. So we want to ensure that our new customers and new users are comfortable with it. So this is why we spend up to an entire day training drivers, supervisors, warehouse personnel, maintenance personnel, anyone basically touching this equipment, involved with the equipment. We want to make sure it's fully trained. Additionally, we provide manuals for future reference, and our website is a plethora of information for follow-up training and questions. And we could even set your team up for recurring recertification training as needed. So we do provide that as well. So wrapping up with some next steps, we should definitely connect, set up a quick call one-on-one to go over your operation and how this would fit. I'm sure you've got questions, ideas flying through your head, so I'd love to hop on a call and discuss that. Then we could see about arranging a demonstration. We do have demo equipment, whether it be a live demo at your facility. Once travel opens back up, maybe we fly you here. You could see our facility. I know there's a lot of restrictions with COVID, so maybe after this passes, we can arrange that. Or we can see about you stopping by a current customer's yard to see it in action. We also offer virtual demonstrations as well over FaceTime or Zoom. So then, once we know exactly what the best solution is, we can get you some budget pricing for budgeting purposes, so you have a really good full scope of that. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is up on the screen there, along with my lovely picture. I'm going to leave this up for right now. so that you can take down my information. But I'd like to open it up for any type of questions that come through that or maybe came up throughout. You can feel free to submit them now. I'd be happy to address them as they come in. So there was a question that came through about loading the bodies on the trailer at the same time when they're refrigerated. Now, it really depends, again, upon the application. And we do have customers that use roof-mounted reefer units, but these are very small reefer units. They're meant for your inner city transit vans. So they, can't effectively cool a 12-foot, 17, or let alone a 26-foot body to the temperatures needed typically for like food distribution, say, or frozen foods. They're really meant for our wine and spirits, where they need to keep the bodies at ambient temperature, meaning maybe 70, 75 degrees. When you talk about food, frozen goods, things like that, where you have to get really low temperatures and maintain that, we do need a nose mount refrigerated option. And how we typically build those bodies is with we call it an attic delete, if you can imagine. And I think I showed a picture of this earlier. Let me see if I could bring that back up for you all. But if you see in the bottom left corner, that is a body with an attic delete. So it's a reverse attic where we recess the nose mount reefer into the body, hangs down about 30 inches inside the body. So a typical, 5-foot high pallet would be able to fit underneath that area in the front. But as you can see, when you do that, you have fuel tanks mounted to the front, batteries at some point. So you eliminate that front door. So in these cases, in these special instances, yes, you will have to load bodies individually at your dock door. And typically in these applications, our customers use a yard truck hostler. It's a special demountable yard truck hostler that can move bodies without the driver having to get out of the truck to do anything. So again, more, as we understand your operation better, we can get you that information, show you exactly how that all looks as well. So somebody asked, how secure are the boxes at the loading door? The concern about, the boxes, the demountable bodies moving when equipment is being loaded on and off of the body. Now, yes, that is a very good question. On our legacy leg, the leg that we've been using, the 24,000 pound one, those legs are designed to shift when the body is demounted. We do that purposely because if not, the legs would get damaged and unusable. We've done, I can't even, a great amount of testing engineering wise to ensure that 24,000 pound payload for the legs. However, if you're having someone that is forklift loading, we do highly recommend the braced leg option because that reduces the amount of shifting the body when you're driving in and out. Again, the body's not going to fall over, but the body will, on those legacy legs, if you're driving a forklift on and off, tend to quote unquote walk away from the dock as it shakes and moves a lot. We also have customers that brace, that dock lock the bodies. So we can do that as an option. And we also have, you can also D-ring chain the bodies to your warehouse as an added safety precaution as well. Someone asked, is the system compatible with a low profile chassis? Yes and no. It all really depends. I guess it really depends on what chassis we're talking about. If you're talking about like an Isuzu NRR, NQR, something like that, like a small city van cab over chassis, no, those sit too low to the ground for our hydraulic system. See, on our system, we have a rear mast in addition to the front mast, but the rear mast is a lifting cylinder and it hangs below the truck chassis. So there's some ground clearance concerns there with a chassis that low. However, we have mounted our system on the chassis as low as a 32-inch rear unladen frame height. So we can get pretty low. And again, we'll work with you and our engineers and truck dealer OEM engineers to make sure that everything's compatible, during that speccing phase. Another question, can the equipment be leased? Yes. Yes, you can. We work with all the leasing companies, quite honestly, and a lot are, a lot more popping up. We're constantly growing our partnership, our network, and there's a lot of different ways to structure that. We have some companies that will lease everything, right? Power units, bodies, our equipment, all into one big package. We have some companies that will just simply lease the power units, but then buy the demountable equipment and bodies direct. So it really depends on your business model and how you'd like to structure it financially. Another question, do I need a new lifter every time I get a new truck? Good question. Glad that's asked. No, you don't. So our systems, as long as you maintain them properly, take good care of them, our lifters going on the final mile straight truck chassis can actually last 2 truck cycles, 14, 15 years. And what would happen is you get a new truck, you send the old truck to a truck shop or us, if makes sense, and the lifter can be taken off the old chassis, refurbished, and put on the new chassis. And typically that's about half the cost of a brand new lifter. And similar, the demountable bodies, in theory, really, they're getting used half the time. And again, as long as you take care of them and depending on where they run, if they're running in cold climate, warm climate, snow, no snow, they can last a very long time as well. Easily 2 truck cycles, maybe even longer. And the trailers for the warehouse and wheel system, again, as long as you maintain them, they can last, just like any van trailer, a very, very long time as well. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see anything else coming through, but again, there's my information, call, email, text, whatever works best for you. Anything that pops up, again, love to talk to you specifically about your company, your operation. There is going to be a recording of this webinar sent out for future reference. About an hour from now, you should get an email. You could share it with anyone else at your company. There should be a PDF that you can download right now off of the GoToWebinar app. It's basically covers everything I spoke about today, something you could take along with you. And then if you wouldn't mind, there's just a 3-question survey at the end of this, at the conclusion of the webinar, that you can fill out. It'll help me assist you in a future conversation, regarding demountable. So, with that, I want to go ahead and wrap up and thank everyone again for joining me and setting aside the time to learn more about demountable systems. You probably come up with some ways to leverage this system, benefit your operation in the future, and we look forward to speaking with you more about that. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll be talking to you soon.